So before we start with the actual solid principles, let me ask you one real life example that mainly happens in everyone's life. Why it happens that your cupboard in the room get messy in just 1 week? The reason for this, you keep your socks at same place, you keep your shirt at same place, the gadget and accessories all at one place. And now when you are trying to find something, you totally get worried, right? Where is my sock? Hey, where is my gadget? And this is what exactly happens in a code if you don't follow the solid principles in the right way. And that is the reason why understanding the solid principles becomes a lot more important in design system. In this video, I will be explaining each solid principles with real life example and with the help of code so that even a single person does not get a mess in these concepts. So I highly recommend you to stay till the end of this video to get best out of it. And now, without any further delay, let's make your solid principle. Let's solve it. So solid principle, here solid mainly stands for a single responsibility principle, open close principle, Liskov substitute principle, interface segregation principle and dependency inversion. So this is basically the full form of solid principle. Now let's understand each solid principles in more detailed manner with the help of real life example and with the sample code. Single responsibility principle. Imagine that there is one cupboard and inside that cupboard there is only one section is there. So what you will do is you will keep every single thing in that one section. You will keep your laptop, your shirt, your socks, your gadgets, accessories, every single thing is present at the one section, right? Now, tomorrow you want to find something. Now, do you really think that finding things in these messy cupboards is easy? Hell no, right? And this is the biggest problem. In order to overcome with this problem, we mainly make use of single responsibility principle. Now, you might ask me, hey Pramod, on this cupboard, how we can apply the single responsibility principle? Let me tell you. Now, imagine that there is one cupboard and which contains a 3 different section. And now, what you will do is, you will keep your clothes, your socks, your pants in one section, your gadgets, electronic devices in one section and your accessories inside the other section. And now tomorrow if you want to find something, you can easily get it because every single thing is present at its own place, and this is called as a single responsibility principle. Inside the single responsibility principle, what it says that a single class is responsible to perform operation on a single thing or in single task. I repeat, the single responsibility principle says that one class is responsible to perform one task. And the second important thing, it says that every single thing have its own place and every single thing is present at its own place. And now I hope so you understood the concept of single responsibility principle. Now let's go on to the IDE and check the sample code to understand the single responsibility principle in detailed manner. So here I have declared the class called as user detail. So as per the definition of single responsibility principle, this class should be whole and sole responsible to perform operations only on the user, because single responsibility principle says that the one class performs a single task. So if you see that there is one function called as add users, again this class is performing operations on user, so this is allowed. The second function says that delete user, okay, this is also performing the operations on user, so this is also allowed. Third function says that get users, so whatever the users we have added, we will simply get the list of it. So simply again we are performing operations only on that user. So till now this class is following the single responsibility principle. But the moment we add one more function called as a show logs, do you think that this class is following the single responsibility principle? No way, right? Because now this class is trying to perform 2 different tasks which is not at all allowed in a single responsibility principle. And that is the reason why this class is not a perfect example of single responsibility principle. Now let's take one more example. So we have a class called as a user. Now this class is also responsible to perform operations only on the user. So we have 3 different functions if you observe it carefully. We got a add user, we got a delete user, and we got a get users. So by default this class is responsible to perform only on the user. So hence we can simply say that this is a perfect example of single responsibility principle. And now I hope so you understood what is single responsibility principle. That is, the one class is responsible to perform a single task. Every single thing have its own place and every single thing is present at its own place. Open close principle. The open close principle says that your code is open for extension, but it is closed for modification. So what does it mean is you can add a new functionalities or the new classes to your code, but you cannot modify the existing code. Let's take a real life example. Let's suppose you have a switchboard which has 3 plugins, and you got 4 electronic devices, like you got a laptop charger, phone charger, fan and AC. So inside the 3 plugins you plug in the 3 separate electronic devices. Now in order to plug in the one remaining electronic device, you don't have enough space. So you don't break the switchboard and get extra plugins. Instead you buy one extension and you simply plug in to get additional plugin points. And this is what exactly the open close principle says, that you are not allowed to make modification in the existing code, but you are allowed to have extension in your code. Now let's understand this open close principle with the help of the sample code so that your concept becomes more clear. So I have declared the class called as a shape, which is responsible for calculating the area of a particular shape. So as of now we got 2 shapes. One is called as a circle and second is called as a rectangle. So this class is responsible for calculating the area of a circle and area of a rectangle. Now let's suppose tomorrow in future we got a different shape. Now suppose I want to calculate the area of a square. So what you can basically do is you will simply add a new function inside the same class to get the area of a square. But the problem with this is, don't you think so that you are modifying the existing code, and that is the reason why it is violating the open close principle, because the open close principle simply says that you are not allowed to modify the existing code. But the point is we're adding the functions inside the same class which is already been designed. So this is totally violating the open close principle. Now let's take this example. So what basically I have did is I have an interface called as a shape, and whichever the new shape comes in, that shape simply implement this interface. So I have a class called as a circle which is responsible for calculating the area of a circle, and it simply implements the shape interface called as a shape, and inside this we are simply calculating the area of a circle. Now we got another class called as a rectangle which is again implementing the interface called as a shape, and it is giving us the area of a rectangle. Now suppose tomorrow if in case a new shape comes in, let's call as a square. So simply I can declare a class called as square which implement the shape. Now if you observe carefully that we are not modifying our existing code, but rather we are adding the extra classes or the functionalities, that is we are having the extension to our previous code. And this is the perfect example of open close principle. You are not modifying the existing code, but you are adding the new functionalities and the class which is called as open for extension. So now I hope so you understood the meaning of open close principle, that is your class, your code is open for extension, but it is closed for the modification of existing code. Liskov substitute principle. Liskov substitute principle simply says that your subclass, which is also called as a child class, should behave same as that of your parent class, which is also known as a base class. Now in order to know more in detail about this Liskov substitute principle, let's first go to the IDE and check how does exactly Liskov substitute principle works. Now if you see carefully that we have a parent class, so basically vehicle, this is our parent class, which mainly contains a function inside it which is a start engine, and then we got a child class which is a car. So car is a child class, and also the bike is also our child class. So what this child class basically doing is they're simply extending the parent class. So as the definition of Liskov substitute principle says that is your child class should behave the same way as that of parent class, which means so parent class has a function called as start engine, so it should implement it as well. So we got a car and we know that car mainly contains an engine. So in order to start that engine, we simply extend the class called as vehicle, and then we simply implement which we call overriding this function. Then we got another child class which is called as a class bike, which again extends the class vehicle. So again this child class is inheriting the parent class. So which means our child class should behave the same way as that of parent class. And of course the bike has the engine and you are also implementing the function. But the real game comes in when you have a class called as a bicycle which inherits the class vehicle. Now the point is we know that the class bicycle doesn't have an engine. So we will not going to implement the function called as a start engine. So you will keep this class as it is. And this will violate the Liskov substitute principle. Why it is violating? Because the definition itself says that it should behave the same way as that of your parent class. So parent class contains a function called as start engine, whereas a child class, which is this bicycle, does not have the function start engine. Therefore, this is violating Liskov substitute principle. So now I hope so you thoroughly understand what do you mean by Liskov substitute principle, and that is your child class should behave same as of your parent class. Interface segregation. Now before we see this concept, let's take a real life example. Now let's suppose you go somewhere else and someone is forcing you to do certain tasks which you never wanted to do it. Now tell me, will you ever do the things which you never want to do even if someone is forcing you to do it? Of course no, right? And this is what the interface segregation principle says, that you cannot force a class to implement those functionalities which it never wanted it. Think of it, let's suppose you go in a veg restaurant, and do you ever think that inside the veg restaurant you can get a non-veg menu card, you can get a drinks menu card? Of course no, right? Because the veg restaurant is only meant to execute only veg menu card functions, and this is what the interface segregation principle says it. Now in order to know more about in detail, let's move on to the IDE and let's check what is interface segregation principle. So I have an interface called as a restaurant menu, and inside this interface I got a 4 functions which is called as veg items, non-veg items, drinks and desserts. And then we have a hotel or the restaurant which is called as a veg restaurant, and this veg restaurant is implementing the interface called as restaurant menu. Now we know the rules of interface, that if any class is implementing the interface, that class is forced to implement all the functionalities which is present in your interface, correct? Yes. So now our interface mainly contains 4 functions, that is veg items, non-veg items, drinks and dessert. And the point is the class veg restaurant only needs a function called as veg items. But since you are implementing a restaurant menu which is an interface, you are forced to implement all the functions. And that is the reason why it is violating our principle. Correct? Yes. So this is not a good approach to write a code, that is you are forcing some class to execute or to implement all the functionalities which it never wanted for. Now if this is a drawback, right, you are simply forcing this class veg restaurant to implement all the functions present inside the interface even though it is never wanted it. So what can be the basic solution in order to overcome this problem? And then comes a principle which we called as interface segregation principle. Now let's check out how we can implement this function in order to overcome this problem. Now observe carefully what we have basically done. So if you observe our previous code, all the functionalities are written inside the same interface. But here what we have done is, for every single function we have created the different interface. For example, for veg items we got an interface called as a veg menu. For non-veg functions we got an interface called as a non-veg menu. Similarly for drinks and the dessert. But in previous code we wrote all the functionalities inside the same interface called as restaurants menu. And that was the reason why it was forcing the class to implement all the functionalities which was never needed. So what basically we can do is, of course, right, say for example we got a class called as veg restaurant. Now this is a veg restaurant, right? So what is need is, we simply need a functions which is implementing the veg menu card. So what we can do is, we can simply implement this interface, because now this interface is supposed to be only meant to be implement a veg item functionalities, right? And now you are not at all forcing the class veg restaurant to implement all the remaining 3 interface. And this is how you mainly solve the problem of interface segregation principle. So what does interface segregation principle says, that instead of writing all the function inside the same interface, we will create a different interface for each functionalities, right? So we got 4 functions inside the same interface, but in interface segregation principle says that there will be 4 different interfaces for 4 different functions. And this is how you avoid forcing a class to implement the functions which you never wanted it. For example, a veg restaurant class never wants a drink, non-veg and dessert menu. Of course, we will not make use of it because we need a veg items which is present inside the interface called as a veg menu, and I can simply implement that particular interface and implement the functions which we need to be. So now I hope so you understood what is interface segregation principle, that is to separate each function into each different interfaces. Dependency inversion. So dependency inversion simply says that your high level code should not depend on your low level code. And what does it mean is, in order to call some functionalities present in your high level code, you should not fully dependent on your low level code. Now I know that this might sound confusing, so let's go on to the IDE and check what does exactly the dependency inversion says. So I have a class called as a light bulb, inside which I have built a function called as a turn on, and assume that this is a bulb for which we need to make it on. So what we basically do is, so in order to turn it on the bulb, we need a switch. So we got a class called as a switch, and with the help of this class switch, we are going to turn this light bulb on. So what we basically did is, we simply created the object of class light bulb, and we set the constructor for which we are simply initializing the object of light bulb, and then we are calling the method present inside the class called as light bulb. But don't you think so that this class switch is totally dependent on light bulb, which means this class switch is responsible to turn only the bulb. Now say for example, I have a class called as a fan, and now I want to turn it on. Now do you think that with the help of this switch, are you able to turn this fan on? Of course no, right? Because this switch is totally and fully dependent only for the light bulb. So now in order to turn the fan on, we need one more class, or let's suppose we have a class called as switch1, right, which is responsible for turning the fan on. Now again you will be writing the same functionalities, like you will be having the object of fan, and you will be having the constructor for which you will be passing the object of fan, and you will be initializing, right? So name is switch1, and what you will do is, with the help of this, simply again you will call this function in a same way, right? So every time if any new device comes in, you will need to create each separate switches for every single device. So that is not a good approach to solve the problem, because you are heavily dependent on each other. And in order to remove this dependency, every time new device comes in, you are creating the new switches. So the question comes how we can overcome these problems, and then the solution comes in dependency inversion. So let's check out how does a dependency inversion works. Okay, now let's check how does a dependency inversion checks. So we got an interface called as a switchable, inside which it contains a function called as turn on. Now we know the rule, the class which implements the interface switchable, it is compulsory should implement the function present inside that interface. So I have a class called as a light bulb, which is implementing the switchable class. Again I got a class called as a fan, which is implementing the interface called as a switchable. So since it is implementing, it also need to implement the function present inside the interface, and we have done in both the places. Now we got a class called as a switch, and inside the switch I have an object of switchable type. Now what does a switchable type is? Switchable is nothing but is an interface, and this interface is basically implemented by class light bulb, and it is also implemented by class fan. Which means, can I say that your switchable can be any device, either it can be a light bulb or it can be a fan as well. Now no matter how many devices comes in, do I need to create a separate switch? No, I don't need to create a separate switch. Now let's suppose I got a laptop, so let's suppose I have a class called as a laptop charger, which is implementing the interface which is called as a switchable. Now inside the interface switchable, we got a method that is turn on, so we need to implement over here. So I have implemented this, and I will write simply laptop charger is on. Now let's suppose this switchable can be anything. It can be a laptop charger, it can be a fan, and it can be a light bulb. Now do you think that no matter how many devices comes in, we don't need to depend on any other classes? Now this is how a dependency inversion makes your code loosely coupled rather than making it tightly coupled. So I hope you understood each and every single solid principles really well. And if I tell you, solid principles are not the boring set of rules, but instead these are the common sense or the common rules which we apply in our daily life. I hope so you enjoyed this video really well, and you got every single concept of solid principle really well. Just in case if you are new to our channel, do subscribe the channel and drop understood in the comment box, which can help me to motivate and bring some high quality videos to you. Till then, see you in the next video.